Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 125 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Back for you here on another Wednesday night, 7:22 p.m., January 4th. It's going to be another loaded show to start off the new year, 2023. But before we get into all that stuff, Brian, how are we doing heading into the new year here?
I don't think it's a better time for a loaded show, as you mentioned, with it being the first show of 2023. Obviously some tough discussion point. It's going to be a weird start to the show because obviously we're probably going to start with the Damar Hamlin stuff, get our thoughts on that, because that's obviously one of the biggest stories, not just in the NFL, but in all of sports. But then to shift to like the excitement with I don't know how I'm going to do it because like the Red Sox obviously made a great move. So it's going to be a tough transition. Like you said, right before we jumped on here, it was very nice of the Red Sox to give us some good news to talk about with the Rafael Devers extension. And then, of course, into Patriots-Bruins. Some tough news for the Bruins today with the Jake DeBrusk stuff. And then one little Celtics thing at the end I wanted to briefly touch on because there's a glaring problem with the Celtics team starting up that I just, like I said, wanted to touch on, something they can hopefully get over. But other than that, doing good. Of course, like I said, we've been monitoring the Damar Hamlin stuff that we'll get our thoughts on momentarily. Other than that, though, ready to go here in 2023.
For sure. But with the main topics, and then we have the Devers stuff with the Red Sox and some Celtics points we added a little bit to the show, so you get some bonus content. Unfortunately, the past week has been dominated by this like really sudden, really horrifying story. It was funny, like I totally it was like I was under a rock. I totally missed the whole initial.
As did I. I was at work. I had no idea this happened.
Or I don't know if you can even call it an injury. I was I had the game on my TV in bed, laying in bed, and I had on my iPad off to the side, I was watching a World Juniors game. And I was more focused on that just because I was zoning off. So I was just looking at the screen in front of me, kind of mesmerized. I look over and I see the game is paused and something's going on. I'm like, what the hell happened? I truly had no idea. I think I probably missed the first 10 minutes of the whole stoppage and everybody just in shock at what happened. And what's going on? I gotta check Twitter to figure this out. I had my TV on mute, so I didn't hear any of the broadcasts. What the heck is going on? What did I miss here? And Damar Hamlin just dropped on the field.
Yeah, kind of the same for me.
Most shocking things I've ever seen.
Yeah, we'll get just to kind of give my spin on that because we'll get to the reaction to that. Same thing. I was at work. We closed early because it was they gave us the New Year's, so they let us close at 9. And obviously, as I mentioned before, it was fantasy championship football week. I had Joe Burrow. I was getting killed. So I got home, made the joke to my dad. I'm like, oh, is Joe Burrow making my loss any more respectable with, how he's played in this game? And obviously didn't realize that the game had been on pause. My dad, for the first time probably ever, was the one breaking news to me about sports, was like, you don't know what happened in this game. Open up Twitter and see if it's got to be all over it. And, sure as it was, like you said, you did the same thing. And you mentioned just Damar Hamlin dropping. Everyone's kind of giving their thoughts on the situation, obviously sending thoughts and prayers to him and his family for, a recovery and the best health for him. But that was obviously, I think a lot of people have echoed this thought, the scariest thing when we've obviously been watching football for a while now in our lifetimes. And you see, crazy massive hits where guys get lit up over the middle or guys get twisted around. And they either get back up, or if they do have to get carted off the field, or they give some sort of thumbs up that they're going to be good, or just, something to the crowd to show that they're okay. That was the scariest thing from this, is like you said, he just dropped and there wasn't any movement or any sign that he was going to be okay. Now, obviously the reports have come out. The Bills today at 1:30, they said Damar remains in the ICU in critical condition with signs of improvement noted yesterday and overnight. He is expected to remain under intensive care as his healthcare team continues to monitor and treat him. So over the last couple of days, you've gotten bits and pieces, I guess, of some improvement, which is good. Because again, like you said, the situation as a whole was scary. Nobody really knew at the time what was going on. Obviously, the first report that came out was had to be resuscitated on the field. That's never a good thing. So just a crazy situation. Obviously, a lot of people have taken the right approach to this, and again, sending the thoughts and prayers and stuff like that. His charity, the toy donation, I think it is constantly getting a ton of money towards us. That's obviously good. But this has been my problem with this. There has been a lot of idiots that have come out and given their thoughts on this that we're going to get into because it's kind of tied in with our moments of the week. This has been a tragic event and it still continues to bring out the worst in people, which just shows how bad social media and just idiots as a whole can be in this planet, which is very aggravating because the main focus should be, the safety and health of DeMar Hamlin. It shouldn't be, what has come out the last couple of days.
Yeah, and the thing like people were immediately drawn to is like this has to be like an easy decision to suspend the game, but I think the reason it took the time that it did was just like to sort things out, like how they absolutely had to at the bare minimum. I think at the end, like the plan was to postpone the game to whatever time it ends up being made up. Maybe a solo week 19 at this point because they're not affecting week 18. Like I imagine that's what it has to be somehow, some way. But like it was just like attending to all the formalities on the field to make sure they're everything's in line with how they deal with sudden tragic events like this and adapt. But yeah, like seriously, one of the most like horrifying things I've ever seen, like the lifelessness in his body when he dropped, like you just never really know what to expect after that. And it's easy for the brain to like go for the worst because it just looks so tragic.
Yep.
But at the same time, you're just hoping it doesn't, resort to that state. And we've gotten some positive updates today, but like seriously, without a doubt, the scariest thing I've ever seen in a sports game. And just like I can't even imagine how different my reaction might be if I saw it live. Like even seeing it delayed, like, focus on other things at the time. I was like, it's just like you can't watch it and not have it rattle you to your core a little bit and make your heart sink. He was revived on the field or given CPR on the field. There was
twice I saw it today.
What's that?
They had to give it, I think, twice. I saw it today on Twitter. Somebody said like he was revived twice or something similar. I can't remember exactly what it was, but just to add to the craziness of it all.
Yeah, it was truly like shocking to the core, and it still is because not only do we all see it happen, all see it happen. It's still very like raw, and they're still figuring things out with the situation and his health. It's really like there's a lot we can't talk about, but it's really hard to like internalize this because it's so like unfamiliar.
That was kind of that leads into the discussion or the question I was going to ask you, because in the moment, obviously you said things have kind of come out now that they're postponing the game, of course, suspending it to a later date if they even play it. There is still the possibility I saw out there that either both teams just take a tie, both teams take a loss, and just kind of go with what the standings are now, or just kind of let week 18 play out and then double back to it, which I think is probably what's going to, like you said, end up happening. There's really no way around moving week 18 or doing anything like that. So they're going to do that. The big thing, obviously, the NFL, from a lot of people on Twitter, caught a decent amount of flack. I saw. I wanted to get your thoughts on the whole discussion of the 5-minute pause, because now there's been some stuff that has come out that they weren't going to go through a 5-minute delay and then have the players go back out there. Zach Taylor discussed it today. I saw in his press conference with the Bengals media talking about that it was really, McDermott, the Bills head coach, that was the one saying like, we can't play this game. I need to go be with DeMar in the hospital. Those two, I would say, I think caught a lot of praise because of how they handled things, McDermott and Zach Taylor in stopping the game. But were you kind of on the side of like questioning why there'd be a 5-minute delay? Or I feel like you kind of answered this where it's like no one really knew what the precedence was. So just kind of wait and see type of thing. Or what were your thoughts on that whole thing? Because like I said, I know a lot of people were kind of up in arms with the NFL when the report came out that they were going to maybe try to play the game after what had just happened.
Yeah, I still think it's like it was more of a formality type of process where they had to like make sure everything was in order versus just like rushing to a decision, even though the situation was very dire. There still are like protocols in place, and like I said, I don't think they ever planned on resuming the game. They just wanted to do their due diligence and make sure they were covering all their bases. But the most unfortunate part of all this is you could have any terrible situation in a sporting game, and some idiot or idiots will find a way to
Mhm.
make it about their own like stupid agenda and stupid point of view or like some other shit.
Yep.
And guys like Skip Bayless and Bart Scott, two of the people that are just wildly unsurprising to be at the center of something like this in a
Mhm.
negative way, are at the center of this in a negative way. And just two of the dumbest fucking people in sports.
That's putting it lightly, I think, too, in all
And like
honesty. Like,
Skip Bayless, we know this, but like Bart Scott is one of those pundits that gets a job because he played in the NFL.
yep.
Like there are plenty of people in sports that played the game for a long time that end up being good. Bart Scott's not one of them. He never has been.
Mhm.
And he's just blown smoke out of his ass for however many years he's been on TV since he got out of the league, and he should be fucking ashamed of himself.
Yeah, I
I
think
should Skip Bayless.
Baltimore, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Bart Scott, I feel like, is more so known for his mouth more than anything else. Like, unless there's like a Jets fan in this right now that can name like one massive Bart Scott play that you can remind me of. Like, other than that, like I feel like most people know Bart Scott for the post game interview antics and stuff like this. That we'll start there. Obviously, blaming T Higgins, which I idiot move there for the people that are. I saw somebody put a TikTok out of a bunch of like death threat comments and saying that T Higgins is a murderer and that he should be like suspended from the NFL. Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, it's how do you think? Obviously, when you discuss the DeMar Hamlin stuff, you first got to think about, what's his family going through, what are his teammates going through. I think the next question you have to ask is, where is T Higgins in all of this? Is someone like check on him to make sure everything's okay with him? Because you have to imagine it's close to a traumatic experience for him as well. Obviously, being the guy that was right in the middle of the play, he made a football play. It's not like
him after the game.
I heard or saw on Twitter that he was like in his locker for the longest time, kind of head down.
And he was like walking out with his mom, and
yep.
They like had their arms around each other, just kind of like I imagine his mom was just consoling him.
Yeah, absolutely. But
that's just got to be a mortifying thing to have to deal with, whether it was like an intentional play or not, which it just wasn't. If you think
it was a freak thing. Yep.
If you think it was, I think you're stupid, and I think Bart Scott also said this because he knew it would drum up. Like,
yeah, he hadn't been in the news in a while, so just try to get something.
This is the type of stuff that is, unfortunately, I think encouraged by networks to generate clicks and generate attention to it.
Yep.
I think this is absolutely one of those things, but it doesn't excuse Bart Scott for being a fucking idiot like he always is.
Yep. Yeah, this is the same guy. I forgot about this. I don't know if you remember. The same guy that I think it was last year, after Joe Burrow lit up the Ravens, said that Ravens defenders needed to put like a red dot on Joe Burrow, and the next time he played the Ravens, just to like look out for basically headhunting, or like said that the Ravens should headhunt Joe Burrow. So great character you're dealing with there. The Skip Bayless stuff, kind of a different thing. Didn't obviously blame T Higgins, but Skip Bayless, I think, falls more so under there's a time and a place for something. And when his tweet came out talking about the importance of the game, when was this game going to be replayed, with how much implications it had for playoffs and divisions and seeding and stuff like that. Like, there's a time and a place for that.
It's it's one of those things he probably knew. It's one of those things he probably knew was wrong, but he tweeted it out anyway. It brings hype to his show and attention to his show.
Yep. Well, did you see his show today, or just the clip on Twitter of Shannon Sharp trying to explain why he missed the show? I think 100% he didn't go on the show out of protest the other day because of Skip Bayless's tweet. And even when he's trying to discuss that, Skip Bayless cuts him off and was trying to, again, make up for two horrible tweets he put out. So the guy's just, it's become as tone deaf gets with him. Again, you can understand the point where he's coming from, of like, yes, everyone and their mother knows that this is a huge game. A ton of people tuned in, rightfully so, because it was a game that could determine the one seed, or just in seeding. Obviously, the division is still on the line for the Bengals. But in the moment, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the guy who was on the field, as you said, who practically died on the field. You're thinking about his health and safety. You're not thinking about the where's the seeding going to be and when are they going to finish this game. Like, that's something we can discuss obviously today and moving forward. Like, that gets put on the back burner.
For anyone who didn't see it, somehow he said, no doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. And then backtracks,
that part was tacked on.
In classic fashion of these pundits who fucking say these horrible things, and then like, I'm gonna fake apologize because I have to make myself look good to the idiots that'll take it with seriousness. He said, nothing is more important than that young man's health. That was the point of my last tweet. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
I'm sorry if that was misunderstood, but his health is all that matters. Again, everything else is irrelevant. I prayed for him and will continue to. Well, thanks for praying for him after you fucking said that insensitive tweet. Listen to this. Listen to this.
I'm listening.
The original tweet, he does not mention Damar Hamlin or the word him once. No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. Doesn't mention the player once and then acts like he did and that he was, that was the main purpose of his tweet.
If you look at that tweet too, which I'm sure you are reading off it, of course, I just can't get over the fact that it ends with the ... It suddenly seems so it suddenly seems so irrelevant part is so tacked on where it's to the point I feel like you almost forgot to put it. You'd be like, oh, I actually probably should mention, like you said, not his name or not anything about the player, but just the fact that this game might not mean all that much at this point, even though to me it does. And then again, just basically doubling down on it on Undisputed today. Well, again, watching that clip on Twitter I'm shocked after the last couple of weeks, Shannon Sharp hasn't just reached across the table and smacked Skip around for how stupid he's been. But this again takes the cake. Like you said, these two idiots that it's crazy that they both still have jobs. But like you said, at this point, it seems like it's more so for like you said, the likes and the responses like you and I have. The other thing too, again, not going to get political about it, but of course you have the other, the mouth breathing idiots that want to say this is a COVID vaccine thing. And that's why this happened. Keep your politics out of it. Shut the fuck up.
If you think that you should be shot at your feet with a rocket launcher.
Mm-hmm. Just like I said, I have it out here, taken out back and put down like a wounded animal because it's just no place for that. Just absolute stupidity.
Catcher in the Rye or whatever fucking movie that is with the two characters I'm all of a sudden forgetting the name of.
Why
am I forgetting?
Catcher in the Rye. It's to look at the flowers, Lenny. No.
Lenny, Lenny and
Catcher in the Rye is completely different. Why can't I think of the name of that? I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my god.
Gonna look it up. I have
A Mice and Men.
Yeah, yep, there you go.
Those movies not those movies. The books of Mice and Men, Catcher in the Rye, the Outsiders movies like that all fall into the same
blend together.
They're the same movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's so fucking annoying how when traumatic shit like this happens or crazy things in sports, there always has to be some idiot that has to take the fucking high ground and act like their opinion means the most versus just having a fucking normal one and just not being a jackass.
It still amazes me. I mean, that's just where we are in the world, but it still amazes me that you can fuck this up that bad and immediately you're just going to go to the worst possible thing. Again, the one thing that matters right now is the health of a 24-year-old kid that's fighting for his life in a hospital. Again, there wasn't anything dirty about this play from T. Higgins, so stop sending death threats to T. Higgins and saying that he should retire. The guy made a football move and Damar Hamlin, again, doing his job, went for a tackle, any routine play. That's just what happens. A freak thing. So no one's here, to blame at this. And again, just think of the player. Again, everyone can talk about the game afterwards and figure out when this will be played, if it is even going to be. But you said, there's no other way really that you could have started this show without mentioning that, giving our thoughts on the whole thing. And again, just sending thoughts and prayers and hoping, Damar Hamlin makes a fast and safe and healthy recovery.
Yeah. I mean, that's just one of the biggest things out there right now is just everybody's in unison on this. It's just an unfathomable thing that, not enough, thoughts and well wishes to him can, be enough.
Mm-hmm.
The last I saw his fundraiser on GoFundMe had reached over $6 million. That's pretty incredible. Anything.
Insane, yep.
It's a shame that it has to come to light as it did after the injury that it does now. There's so many videos I've seen since the incident of him just doing charitable work and these funny interviews and just he's a very genuine, nice person, just good dude, has a very positive personality, and it just sucks to see that happen to a guy that is, really comes off as this very positive person, giving person. It just makes it sting even more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we are most definitely sending our best wishes along. Hopefully, there has been some positive momentum since the injury. Hopefully that, or I don't even know if injury is the word, but since the incident happened. There has been some positive momentum, it seems, and hopefully it just continues to trend upward and he can, get back to his normal life, if not completely, somewhat. Just a completely horrifying scenario, the likes of which we've never freaking seen. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
Yeah, just sending our best to Damar and his loved ones is just like unfathomable to even think of. Next up, I feel like at this point we might as well just touch on Red Sox and Bruins before we get to Patriots.
Yep, two quick things.
Yeah, because not a ton for each. Canada just scored. That's unfortunate. 47 seconds into the period. Looks like Logan Stankoven buried it. First with the Red Sox, though, the most pressing Boston news topic. After signing a qualifying offer for 1 year, 17 and a half, I think it was. For Devers, that was just a prank. Everybody's like, oh yeah, they'll just sign him 1 year.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. They'll just sign him for 1 year and push it off.
Trade him at the deadline when you're out of it. Like, no, Heim did the damn thing, which was surprising. Like I told you before I jumped on here. Like, again, I'm behind the 8 ball when it comes to the media and everything and the coverage, because my buddy had to text me this, and I told you, thought he was just referencing the extension. I was like, no, man, it's for 1 year. I said the same thing you did. Like, he's gonna be gone after this year. And he was like, no. Like, they actually extended him. They opened up their wallets, their purses. I saw a lot of people on Twitter make the joke that after John Henry got flamed at the Winter Classic, he was, bullied into making this move. If that was the case, I doubted it was.
Please sign that. Got confiscated.
Yeah, the confiscated sign.
As you get into this, I'm just going to run to the bathroom real fast.
That's okay. I'll give my thoughts then. So for the people that missed it, this was the Jeff Passan tweet at 5:15 saying, quote, breaking star third baseman Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox are finalizing an 11-year, $331 million contract. Sources familiar with the agreement tell ESPN the deal is not done. The physical process hasn't started, but in the end, Devers is expected to remain in Boston. Now, the physical process thing, as we follow the Carlos Correa signing, a little scary, but, Rafael Devers has never really had any massive injuries, so I doubt the physical process is going to take too long and be any sort of stagnant in this process. Ken Rosenthal had a tweet going into the logistics a little further and the numbers. He said, sources confirm, Devers in agreement with Red Sox on 11-year, $331 million extension that begins in 2024. Deal includes $20 million in signing bonuses, or a $20 million signing bonus, excuse me. First with the agreement was Carlos Baerga, amount indeed $331 million, not $332 million. And then Boston Strong a little later said Rafael Devers will get $17.5 million in 2023. That was the arbitration deal that Mike mentioned. He will earn $30 million from 2024 to 2034. We'll also get a $20 million signing bonus as well. Looking at the numbers wise, the $331 million makes Rafael Devers the highest paid third baseman in overall salary standpoint, and he's the second highest in AAV behind Anthony Rendon, who's making $38 million. As you're back, Mike, your thoughts on this extension, numbers wise, anything that stands out, or just kind of like me, as we talked about on last week's show, I believe it was last week's show, might have been the week before, where I said that I've taken your thought process and that the deal with Devers is not getting done. He's as good as gone. This was a breath of fresh air to see something finally get done. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do with myself when this came down. But anything that's, like I said, stood out to you at all?
Yeah, I'm just obviously glad they finally got it done. It's an extremely fair amount of money, I think, given the current landscape of like big time MLB contracts now. I think what he's going to be getting is extremely fair for a guy with his production at his age. To get him on a long-term deal at this point till he's only 36, isn't that crazy?
No, at this day and age, absolutely not.
I feel like for a lot of top end players, it's like 30, more the 37, 38 range, which 36 can absolutely fall in that range where you really can fall off sometimes. I just have no qualms with this because it's one of those issues where, like, sure, it could fall off, but worry about that in a decade.
Absolutely.
That's really what it is.
Worst comes to worst, you move the guy to DH. Like, I'm sure there's some people out there that are, because it's just the natural thing that people are going to be like,
one of those 11 perfect
years.
Player builds for DH late in his career. It's one of those things you just have to get done. You can't let this hang over your head all year during the season. You have to get it done. And they did. Thank God. Because, like, if it got to the point where it was Mookie Bogarts and Devers, like
There's no coming back from that. We've discussed that before.
You never know
Like,
when it's going to end at that point. Like, who's next? Cautious, and then Mayer someday, and like whoever, Bayo. If Bayo is looking for big money for his, first big contract, if he keeps this up, like who the heck's next? Like, is this just going to happen all the time? Are they just going to keep recycling these guys and trading them out or losing them in free agency? This finally gives fans hope that hopefully that is a thing of the past. And they're going to lock up their big guys because, I mean, this is pretty serious money for Devers. Like I said, money I think is absolutely fair and reasonable. Absolutely. But like, this is the first time we've seen this big boy money shelled out by Chaim Bloom, and you have to be encouraged by it.
Absolutely. I don't know how there's, like I said, if there's anybody that's just completely negative and thinks it's too long of a deal, how's he going to hold up? Like, then do that on your own time. Like, this is a day. Long time coming for Red Sox fans, something to celebrate about. I know we've had some mini wins here with, the Jansen signing, the Yoshida signing, things that get you excited about. This is the big fish though. Obviously this is something again that we discussed back and forth, where they're going to do it, where they're going to shell out the money. I think now I saw Tyler Milliken of 98.5 put out there. You can finally put the Red Sox don't spend on hometown guys kind of storyline to bed. This obviously does that. And like you mentioned, I think it does give you some hope when it comes to guys like Casas and Bayo and even Mayer when he gets here and down the line. Because I think, it may have been in the back of those guys' head that like sitting here going through this offseason and maybe you see it of, okay, they don't pay Mookie when his contract comes, ready to go. They don't pay Bogarts what it's worth. If Devers were to walk away, okay, now you don't have Rafael Devers, what are they going to do with me when it comes time for a pay raise? Are they going to trade me? Are they going to let me walk? So I think this, again, like you said, it shows that, maybe further down the line, they're going to be willing to extend guys like their young stars. It is obviously too, just for, again, more logistic stuff, the highest paid contract the Red Sox have ever given out. I think it blows David Price's contract. Boston Strong on Twitter had the rundown. I think Price was 2. Blows that contract out of the water. And like you said, it's a deal that had to be done. Because if you were just going into this season with the arbitration deal and the $17.5 million, again, we're sitting here going, okay, he's as good as gone at the deadline.
Yeah, we're just wondering all year.
When's it going to happen? When's the bombshell coming that Rafael Devers was traded to the Astros for 3 prospects and somebody like
it is the perfect guy too. This is nothing against Bogarts or Mookie. I think Mookie kind of fell into this they're all positive guys, like all good vibes guys, but like Devers is like a little like cherub you can have on your team. Like he's like a little cupcake. You look at him like a 14-year-old kid sometimes. Like he's so innocent. He's so just pure. All he cares about is showing up and hitting baseballs. Like he's as pure as you can get for like a face of your franchise personality guy. He's the David Pastrnak of the Red Sox.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
In terms of personality and just like happy-go-lucky style and just being an elite force, they got their David Pastrnak, and now it just puts the pressure on the Bruins. Just we got those bullshit reports last week that ended up
I saw. True. I was going to ask you about that when we started up the Bruins thing. Like,
I'll touch on it quickly. I did ask around, and who I heard back from told me there was nothing going on. So
that's a shame.
Because when I saw it, like it's New Year's Eve, I'm already, amongst
half in the bag,
the party atmosphere. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to focus on the rest of my night if I don't figure this out. So I asked around a little bit, and there just seemed to be really nothing to it. Maybe it was a bad scoop. I don't know, but that was certainly disappointing. But this is the Pastrnak of the Red Sox, and they got him locked up. So
Well, I think
the Bruins are next.
The point you brought up too, just really to end real quick before we end the Red Sox stuff, you mentioned a little different from Bogarts and Betts. I meant to look up when what the age of Betts is going to be when his contract runs out, because I think there was some discussion when he signed that. It's like, oh, you're going to get Mookie Betts into his 40s. Again, I might have the math wrong. Bogarts, obviously, we talked about it when he signed the massive contract. He's going to be in his 40s when that ends. You said it. Rafael Devers is only going to be 36 when this contract comes to an end. He is. I know Mookie was in his prime when he left, or right in the middle of it. Bogarts still good, but maybe more so on the end of his prime than the beginning. You're getting Devers right in the middle of his prime here. 25, like you said, going to be 36 when the contract comes to an end. Like this, again, a move you had to make because he's the cornerstone of your franchise. He's the most recognizable guy now. And he's the guy to lead you moving forward, at least from an offensive standpoint. I'm sure he'll grow into more of a leadership role as he gets older. But the perfect guy, as you mentioned, to build around for all the intangibles that you said.
Yeah. Unfortunately, USA just let up another goal,
I
3-2
did see
Canada.
that. Yeah.
Unsurprising, Canada is really good this year. But yeah, he is all you want in your new face to face the franchise. So it was a no-brainer. As much as it seemed like it, wasn't quite the case that it was a no-brainer for a while there.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this just had to get done. That's just really what it came down to. And it did. So I'm thankful for that. I'm happy this doesn't have to be a stormy cloud over the season. We're just waiting for it to happen or not happen, and that this is over with. So that's
absolutely
nice.
Yeah, for a season that again has so many question marks going into it. Now, obviously, they're not done. You hope High makes a couple more moves to shore some things up here. Like this would have been an absolute distraction again, especially if they got off to a bad start too. Now it turns into, okay, when are you going to move him? Now you don't have to worry about that. You just go out there and play and hopefully maybe shock the world, prove some people wrong. But there is still a decent amount to be done, at least in my opinion, with this roster. But again, this was plan A, number one option, whatever you want to describe it as, then they get it done. So again, step in the right direction, keep it going. Don't keep, take your foot off the gas or anything like that. Keep moving forward with some smart moves here.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe the Red Sox aren't done, but if they are, I just really don't care at this point. This is the biggest priority left. So
yep,
can't really be too upset at this point. Before we get to Patriots, we'll just touch on Bruins and a quick Celtics point. Beforehand, typical stuff with the Bruins, game recaps. Overall, they're playing pretty good. Nothing to really worry about, I don't think. Besides a certain injury.
Yep.
They took care of the Devils again on the road again. 3-1 win to start the week. This past week, Allmark was stellar. 30 saves and 31 shots. Trent Frederick in this one, his goal kind of just like further reinforces the point he's becoming a scoring threat. That one-timer wasn't there in the past, and now he's like an actual threat. And you don't have to worry about it just, being a low danger scoring chance anymore. He can legit score now. Not at a super high level, but like more so than you had in the past. That's nice. That was one of my biggest takeaways from this game. And Pavel Zacha got the revenge game going with the empty netter. A good win against a good team. They're faltering lately. I think they're like 2-7-2 or like 2-9-2.
Yeah, they've slipped since their hot start, I saw.
Which is somewhat predictable, but still a good team, still a bit of a threat. But the Bruins have handled them not easily, but relatively well so far. The New Year's Eve game against Buffalo at home, they lose 4-3 in overtime. Swayman makes 21 saves and 25 shots. We saw a vintage Pastrnak missile to start the game, but other than that, we kind of saw a rough game for the Bruins. The Thompson goal on multiple occasions right after one another. Pretty bad puck management by Clifton, which has been pretty uncharacteristic for him this year. At least the Thompson goal where he kind of does it all of himself. Tuck's goal was kind of weak on Swayman's part. The first one that shot like right under the arm of Swayman. I thought he could have had that one. He just didn't. It happens, but I thought it was just a little weak. And USA scores again. I'm telling you, man, anytime USA Canada play, they just find a way to put these crazy games together. Jackson Blake on this one, the Carolina draft pick, makes it 3-3. Bumper Bergeron after that. But the biggest thing in this one, outside of the overtime winner, of course, because that ended up being the decisive blow, the Cousins goal that squeezed through Swayman was tough.
Yep.
And Swayman's been playing better of late, but there are a few moments in this game where he kind of like resorted to his struggles. And it's a little bit concerning because, even when he was good last year, he lets a lot of somewhat like pedestrian shots get through him. And that's something he needs to work on. It's not something you can like perfect, but it's just something he
needs like a slight improvement if you can make one. Yeah.
You just got to do what you can type of thing. That was tough. Sends it to overtime. Lindholm was kind of caught in a spot where, he needs to commit to the, forget who it was who made the pass. On the overtime winner, overcommits slightly, leaves Tuck open in the middle. Tuck scores in overtime. Bergeron was trailing as well. it's just kind of one of those crap situations, but he did kind of overcommit a little bit. Tuck has a 4-point effort to beat the Bruins. Tough game, but it was one of those weird maddening games. The Bruins are pretty good in most of them, but it was just kind of a weird game, and the Sabres come out with this one.
You had a feeling that,
Yeah,
sorry,
I
you had
know
a feeling that
exactly where you're getting at.
not connecting on the 5-on-3 kind of sealed their fate here. Like that one, as soon as those penalties get expire, you're like, all right, this has the storybook ending of not a good story coming up here. And then the overtime, like this couldn't get anything going as a whole. Like a lot of just kind of skating around from the Bruins side of the. I know that's what they do, obviously, to try to set up, not a shorthanded, but you know what I mean. I can't think of an odd man rush or something like that. Really could get nothing going in overtime. So, and then obviously, like you mentioned, Lindholm gets kind of caught. You kind of knew the writing was on the wall at that point. It's like, all right, Buffalo has all the momentum. It seems like Bruins can't really get anything going. Like this is got the stinker kind of stench in the making, and obviously not a great way to finish out the year.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but luckily they did bounce back in the Winter Classic. Unfortunately, the Jackson Blake goal is being challenged right now in the USA game. This is a pretty big moment. Looks like they have
no goal
decision. Is it no goal?
Yeah, I must be ahead of you.
Yeah, I think you are.
Yep. Oh, you're very far behind.
Yeah, they just show another replay of it. I need to see here. I'm a little bit skeptical on whether this was goalie interference.
I don't know what I was just gonna say, because the Canadian kid was in the crease, so I don't know why they're not gonna show a replay either. I don't know why they would have
dominated them in shots.
I don't know.
Give me another replay. I don't really understand why that was goalie interference. They're not going to do it.
Well, go through your thing. I'll try to keep an eye on it, and like I said, seeing that I'm ahead of you, tee up when you got a replay coming up. But it doesn't look like they're going to show anything.
I don't really understand that one. Winter Classic, Olmark's in net, gets a 2-1 win. Early goal in the first period, but other than that, was spotless. 26 saves and 27 shots. The thing that really confused me early is they seem to believe that like Tristan Jarry had something going on with him before the game. Why wouldn't you just start Casey DeSmith in this game and
it's a good question because
further injury?
Jarry did not look good moving. I think it was left to right was what they said.
Yeah, and he didn't last long.
No, he only lasted, I think, half the first period, and clearly something was wrong with it. I mean, maybe it's just like, all right, it's the Winter Classic. It's a good moment. You see if you can go out there and play. I mean, he clearly didn't want to leave. It looked like was trying to give it his all, but yeah, I didn't even know that. So now that you mentioned that, I'm with you. Like, I get it's a big moment here, but if the guy can't go, why risk an injury? Pittsburgh's not out of it by any means. Like, there's still a ton of season left to play. Don't injure your goalie when you don't really have to. Again, the situation's a big one, but I think the guy's health is more important than a Winter Classic game, in all honesty.
Yeah, it was really weird. It just seemed pretty avoidable, but it's whatever. I just really can't get past the point where it just wasn't worth it.
No.
Like, what if Jarry tries to make like a sprawling save and like tear something?
Oh, destroy something. Yeah, then you look really bad.
I just don't think it was worth it. The Bruins, pretty sloppy game in the first two periods for the most part, but they pulled it through in the end. From what I could gather, there seems to be different beliefs. Like DeBrusk hurt himself, I think, on his hand early, came back, and there seems to be the belief that he hurt himself in the fibula, like literally at the last second of the game.
Okay, I saw that. I saw
scoring chance.
The first goal.
Who knows?
Because I was trying to find it, couldn't pinpoint it. I mean, he got knocked down on the first goal, so I thought it was at that point because then he was slow to get up too.
Yeah.
But then, I'm assuming I saw the same tweet that you saw too, where it was trying to either block the shot or trying to go down and block Malkin's shot, like you mentioned, and he got hurt there. So who knows how long? If he hurt it in the last couple seconds, or if not, if he didn't and he hurt it on the first goal and then continued to play and scored the game-winning goal, then I saw some people like the legend of DeBrusk grows on that. But if so, gutsy performance by him, obviously needed it, and a great job by him to gut it out.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the case is, it was an eventful game for DeBrusque from injuries to scoring both goals. Was pretty wild, and he came up clutch. This felt like a game of the third period to me. They were going to lose for some reason, but DeBrusque said otherwise. Pulled it off, so that was nice. Good atmosphere. I feel like the ice held up pretty well, which is surprising given the
weather,
relatively warm weather. But a good atmosphere overall, good experience, and good win for the Bruins. Next up, we got a West Coast road trip coming up. LA to start. Second in the Pacific, one of the weirder teams this year. You look at the top of the standing, you see a lot of teams with positive goal differential. You see the LA Kings, and they're just up there with a -5. They've been a really weird team this year, but they're getting it done. Yeah, it's very strange. Kevin Fiala's, pacing them in points in his first year. He's got 39 and 41. To me, they're good, but they're not actually good. And then after that, you just have San Jose and Anaheim, who both suck. Erik Karlsson's pacing the Sharks in goals or in points with 53 and 39, looking like his old self, and Troy Terry for the Ducks, 31 points in 38 games. This is a winnable stretch for the Bruins. I'm anticipating much of the same, especially in the San Jose and Anaheim games. But yeah, the biggest story from the past week was DeBrusque's injury. We now know he has a fractured fibula, and Chris Wagner is coming up. He's had a decent season in Providence. I have to imagine a fractured fibula is going to be minimum 2 weeks or 2 months, not 2 weeks.
Be something if it was 2 weeks. Just
yeah, that would be
Iron Man out there.
Miraculous. Yeah, anytime I see a fibula injury, my mind goes to 2 months minimum, maybe 3 to 6. But I saw Ty Anderson mention like it could be like a 6-week type of thing.
Okay.
So who really knows? Like 6 weeks is close enough to 2 months, but a little bit shorter. So hopefully it's more towards that 6-week time period versus 2 months or more. But yeah, this is a really tough time for this to happen. Shakes up the lineup. We're probably getting the top line back together of old of Marchand, Bergeron, and Pastrnak, and then we got Hall and Zacha joining Krejci on the second line. Frederick, Coyle, and probably Craig Smith. Maybe we see Craig Smith a little bit in the top 6. Shakes things up a little bit, but it's one of those things, you hope it reinvigorates Craig Smith, but if it doesn't, I'll take Fabian Lysell.
Okay.
Happily.
That's not the name I thought you were going to go with, but all right.
I think this is a good time, given his AHL production, to give him the test run. Maybe the lack of production in the World Juniors discourages them from this. I wouldn't be surprised, but if Craig Smith doesn't work out, I'm looking at guys like Lauko, McLaughlin as well.
That's what I thought you were going to go with. Yep.
Oscar Steen. But if they really wanted to go bold and add some scoring touch, I think Lysell is absolutely an option.
Okay.
But right now, it looks like they're going with Smith and Greer taking on bigger responsibility. But I mean, this is an injury that could keep DeBrusque out for a long time. Maybe if the Bruins end up being linked to Patrick Kane, keeping Jake DeBrusque on long-term IR.
I was just going to ask. I heard Felger say that today, listening to them. Do you go the route of... Yeah, do you go the route of abusing that little loophole and maybe make a trade for some? Because we haven't, obviously the trade deadline's still far away, but we really haven't discussed anything related to that other than the rumors of the Kane and Tays stuff.
Winter.
Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot. So I know, again, trade deadline's still a decent ways away. I've seen some people say, they still want a defenseman. That was going to be my question to you I don't know what your approach to the deadline would have been before this. Does it change at all? And if so, what's a guy that maybe you could look at realistically to maybe replace DeBrusque for the time being, and then obviously get him back when the playoffs start?
Yeah, I'm reserving judgment on
the young guys first.
On deadline stuff, like if this is like a 4 to 6 month type of thing, which it could be, fibula injuries can, fibula tibia injuries can be pretty severe. Then I'm talking like Patrick Kane and you're Kucheroving DeBrusque.
Okay.
Like I think that's a realistic thing you should try to do because it's possible.
I love that that's a verb too. It's just so well known that
I might have just made it up, but like
I'll take it. Something that happened.
think of it this way, if it's a loophole, DeBrusque comes back, you have Kane, Pasta, and DeBrusque all legally under the salary cap because it doesn't exist in the
That's
playoffs
wild.
on your right wing with freaking AJ Greer, Craig Smith, and Canada 4-2. They're just taking over. Kind of what I expected to start at this game, like Canada would be in the lead, but it came in an unorthodox fashion after a hot start by Team USA. But
Real quick on that point, will you take a drink? If that happens again, the fact that, God forbid the Bruins, they do make a move for Kane because they can do it, having DeBrusque on long-term IR, and then they win the cup, and something like this happens again, where now 2 years you've had teams, I don't know, again, abuse is the wrong word because it's a legal thing to do. I think we had maybe a brief discussion about it when the Lightning won the cup, putting all these guys on long-term IR and doing it. Like maybe the NHL should look into something or changing the rule. I feel like that discussion is probably going to come up again, and then something will have to be done because it's kind of crazy that you're allowed to do this. Like you said, have DeBrusque, Hall, all these guys, Kane, if you get him under the salary cap, and or not under it, but like you said, it doesn't exist in the playoffs. So just a crazy little thing to keep in mind there.
yeah, I mean, talking about a stacked group of wingers, but
For sure.
like you said, it is legal. I thought they were about to review this goal for offsides, but it doesn't look like that's the case. But 4-2 Canada with about 7 minutes left in the second. Speaking of Lysell earlier, he struggled. He really has in the World Juniors. We saw some frustration from him in the first 2 games. To me, it's just really not that much of a story given the fact that he's been so good in the AHL. But like I said, if he struggles coming back, it's a different story. But on a positive note, Danzak Melis or Dans, I don't know how to say it still, for Team Latvia was one of the few bright spots for them. They had a tough tournament, but he had a couple really nice goals, and he looked like one of the more dynamic players in that team. So looking good for the 2022 4th-round pick of the Bruins, one of 2 4th-round picks. The thing for me for Lysell, though, was a bad omen to start is like, I think they scored 11 goals in the first game, and he didn't have a single point.
It's not great.
Something was just off with him. I don't know what it was, but I'm not really worried about it unless he struggles going back to Providence. And just another NHL note before we get into a quick Celtics thought. Jakub Vrana was put on waivers at $5.25 million in the cap. For the Red Wings, he just exited the NHL/NHLPA player assistance program for whatever reasons. I don't think the details have been disclosed. He went down on a conditioned stint to Grand Rapids to get his feet back under him. And then the Red Wings put him on waivers. Kind of seems like one of those situations where they know something we don't. But who knows? We still haven't seen anything after even he went unclaimed at 2 p.m. when that was announced today. But like the fact that he didn't go claimed at this point tells me that other teams might know something as well. Like one team that came to mind to me was Buffalo. They have enough cap space, and they're a good enough team where they're pushing for a playoff spot. Why not get one of the best
talent? Yeah,
5-on-5 scorers in the league when he's healthy? Like he scores at a very high rate of 5-on-5 and can even contribute on the power play. But this tells me, even at the big cap hit, something might be up with this, and hopefully we find out at some point because I'm really confused. But this was just like easily the wildest waiver replacement of the year because Veronica scored at a really high level and he's still really young. But something that I was very surprised by, and I imagine, if you saw the name pop up yesterday, that probably caught your eye as well.
Yeah, I did. I forgot about the whole situation that you just mentioned. So again, when I saw the name on there, I'm like, why is that guy on waivers? I thought he was pretty good. Like I said, forgot what he had gone through this season. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if someone does take the chances you mentioned. But again, teams may know more, like you said, than we do. So not going to speculate too much about anything with what's going on.
Yeah, and if the Bruins had DeBrusque on long-term IR, maybe they had
definitely could have
for him, because it became a discussion when this happened. Like, oh, like this team could get him, but someone with a higher waiver priority due to like a worse record will probably take him first.
Yeah,
nobody took him. So like, if that was the case, and the Bruins had DeBrusque on long-term IR, they could have been like, screw it, like this is our replacement.
Yep.
And then we figure it out later. Maybe Kucherov and keep him on long-term IR. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the whole stuff with things with Verona, but maybe it's going to be hard to find a trade partner if they decide to move on from him from this. They're putting him on waivers because he went unclaimed, even though he's got this big cap hit.
Can't imagine to get much back
really
in a
bizarre.
trade. Yeah.
But like he is a very very good goal scorer. So I don't know. It's a really puzzling situation. But Stevie
Wait
Y
and
is
see
gonna have to
mode.
put in his thinking cap for this one to figure this out, because it's pretty unfamiliar to see a player like this go on waivers and go unclaimed. I think that's gonna wrap it up for hockey. Though we do have one pretty I don't know if alarming is the right word, but
That's the reason I put it in here. I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, this Celtics point is interesting for sure.
It's alarming, and I think at least I'm seeing on Twitter, I've seen today at least some, I think, mild overreactions to it. It's not great. Last night, if anybody watched the Celtics game, I again was working. I did not see it. I was just catching up on the box score. And the Oklahoma City Thunder dropped 150 on the Celtics heads without Gilgeous-Alexander, which is not great. He is, of course, their best player. So when that happens, best player's not playing, it raises some eyebrows, and it gets your head scratching of how the Celtics can do this. The Celtics, I think, right now, and Malcolm Brogdon talked about this last night. He was asked about it. I think the Celtics right now have the problem of playing down to their competition. You're seeing them come out and have these flat starts against these bad teams. Some nights they're able to figure it out late and steal some wins here. Other nights, like last night, they're never really in it. And Marcus Smart, has some frustration. He gets ejected. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, really were the only two that kind of carry the team from a scoring standpoint. Malcolm Brogdon, he, like I said, was asked about it last night, and he said, quote, "When we found out Gilgeous-Alexander was out, we relaxed." I don't know how I feel about that, because it's not a great comment in the sense of you should be playing hard every game. Then there's the flip side of it, which I look at. It's okay, at least they know what the problem is. Now, can you fix that problem of again, say you're playing Dallas, or they're playing Dallas, but say Luka Doncic doesn't play. Do you take that game off, or do you play hard because it's the Dallas Mavericks? I don't know how I feel about it, really. I've seen some people that are calling for, Joe Mazzulla's job, which I think is a complete overreaction. You're going to have nights like this where you come out and not play great. Now, obviously, maybe nights like this where you get blown out again. You have 150 by one of the worst teams, drop 150 on your head. I don't think it's not time to fire Joe Mazzulla or anything, maybe look for a different interim head coach, or it's not his fault. Again, you're going to have situations like this, but you would like to see them kind of figure some things out here and not get off to such bad starts against bad teams, and not take teams without their star players, not as a threat. I think that's a problem that's starting to rear its ugly head. Hopefully they can figure it out. I don't know if you had any other thoughts or just felt any different that you maybe think this is a more so of a problem, or, if you've seen these games, if there's anything problem wise you have with Mazzulla, or, if you're one of the people that doesn't think he's the guy, moving forward this season.
No, I'm definitely not in the camp.
Didn't think so.
People out there that he's not the guy.
You're pretty reasonable when it comes to this type of stuff and in the wait and see mode. So I think that's kind of where I'm at least with it.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate combination of factors here. You're getting 150 dropped on you by a team that should not be doing that.
No, not even close.
Relaxing once their best player is out. Just absolutely 100% playing down to the opponent and not taking them seriously. I don't like that, but
fair enough. I mean,
I don't see it being a huge problem.
Okay, it's an understandable thing, because it's weird. I'm sure, again, I'll use the Dallas example. They're playing Dallas, I think, tomorrow night. Luka Doncic, obviously MVP candidate. We saw them the first time they played Dallas. Everyone got up for that game. It was a great game. Jason Tatum out-dueled Luka Doncic. So you very well could see that again. But again, as the season moves forward, you'd like them to play every game like that. And again, how much of that falls on the players? How much of that falls on the coach? I'd put that attitude more on the players. Again, Malcolm Brogdon flat out came out and said that that's how they felt going into this game last night. So you can maybe throw Mazzulla under the bus a little bit for not having the guys prepared as much. But again, I don't think he's fully the problem. He can only do so much out there. If guys are showing up to the game, or halfway through saying, it's OKC, we'll coast through this. I put that more on the players. So I don't think Mazzulla is the problem. Again, if this lingers and we couple weeks go by, we do the Celtics segment again, and we're still talking about this, then I think you have a legitimate problem. But right now, you hope it's just a type of, flash in the pan type of thing. Like I said, Malcolm Brogdon came out and said it last night. They know they messed up. Hopefully they can fix it and not have a performance like this again. But it's slowly becoming a trend. And like I said, you'd like to see them kind of snap out of the funk they've been in.
Yeah. I'm not saying this is like a point of concern, but like
something to keep an eye on for sure. Like it has happened multiple times this year, but I don't know. Like I said, they tend to get up for the big games too. So there are the highs of highs and the lows of lows. Hopefully they can, like I said, balance some things out here and not be riding this roller coaster, I guess, of, nights you want to play hard and other nights you don't, because you're not going to be successful in the NBA doing that.
Yeah, I'm not really that worried about it. I'm just looking off to the side here at this goal interference stuff from earlier too, and just kind of baffled by it looking at the replay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, talk to me when they, if they come up with a lackluster effort against Dallas, it's a little bit of a different story.
Mm-hmm. If they go on a tear and start losing like 6-7 games in a row, like they're still the best team in the Eastern Conference, still the best team in the NBA from a record standpoint. Like I know Brooklyn's getting hot and have won 12 or 13 in a row. Milwaukee's still there, but like I'm not all that concerned right now. Again, if this continues, talk to me in a couple weeks, and maybe they've let their lead slip here. Now they're sitting third, fourth in the conference. Then we might have a discussion here, or a real, more pressing discussion of, okay, does a change need to be made? Do you have to go out and make some sort of move to reassure some things up? Who knows? But again, we're kind of in wait and see mode with the Celtics because of the season they've had so far. There hasn't been a ton to complain about.
Yeah, it really is one of those seasons kind of similar to the Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're good to go to Suds and Duds, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, the Celtics thing was not going to take a whole lot. I just wanted to get your thoughts because, again, I saw some people wrongfully saying that Joe Mazzulla was the one to blame and that maybe he's not the right guy for the job. I'm like, I don't know if I go there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really see anything to freak out about here.
Nope.
With Joe Mazzulla. Suds and Duds, as usual, the Patriots this week pull out a close one, a huge one against the Dolphins to go to 8-8, 23-21. But I will defer to you to start with Suds and Duds, as I usually do.
All right, I'll start it off. My number 3, Jabril Peppers, a guy that has found the Duds list for a decent part of the season, a couple times. He finds the stud list probably for the first time for me. 7 defensive tackles, 1 special teams tackle, coverage stats via Mark Daniels. He was 0 for 1. To a lot of people, me, myself included, I'm assuming you as well, if you watched the game, forced what should have been a fumble on Raheem Mostert, because that was the play that got ruled for progress for whatever reason. It looked like Jabril Peppers hit him pretty solid. Ball came out, but they ruled for progress, of course. And then had a big hit on Teddy Bridgewater when he scrambled on 3rd and 7 to prevent a first down. Then, of course, you had Brandon Schooler running to the kicker. That penalty set up the conversion for the Dolphins in the score. But I thought Jabril Peppers played well. Of course, had to step up when you have 3 corners down in this game. He put out a pretty solid performance when given the opportunity to.
Most definitely. I almost put him in my top 3, but couldn't quite put him there. I put who you have as your number 3 or number 2 stud and mix the numbers up here.
It's okay.
And that's Kyle Duggar. I have him as my number 3. 5 tackles and interception, including a pick 6, 2 pass breakups. Did have a touchdown allowed, but was defensive player of the week for a reason. I thought he was absolutely worth mentioning here, and his pick 6 definitely turned the game on its head.
Absolutely. Another, like you said, I have him as my 2, another week, and we'll get into that discussion a little bit later, but another week where you have a pick 6 or, a scoop and score type of thing to get your offense going, or you just get the game turned in your favor. How sustainable is that? I don't know, but I'm with you. Duggar, my number 2, was great in this game. Again, I think he allowed the last touchdown of the game, I'm pretty sure, right? The Gesicki one, if I remember incorrectly. I don't know how much I knock him on that, if I'm remembering correctly, because, again, at that point, I think you saw the Patriots defense kind of play. We'll give you the field. We'll back off a little bit here. Almost burned him. But, again, I don't like that style of defense. I think, you play into the end of the whistle. But, yeah, Duggar was great in this game. Like you said, defensive player of the week, rightfully so for the pick 6.
Yeah, 100%.
Stay on it. We'll go to your number 2 because he was like I said, he was my number 2. So who'd you have as 2 for your studs?
My number 2 was Tyquan Thornton because I thought, given the was it the Raiders game or the Bengals game? I'm drawing a blank on. He had that diving
Ready to drop
opportunity. He missed on.
Bengals.
He highlighted that as something he was trying to avoid going forward and kind of like redeem himself for 3 catches on 7 targets, which isn't the greatest, but when you put up 60 yards in the end and a touchdown in a close game, I think you're worthy of some stud consideration. Definitely stepped up in this one. Knew he wanted to bounce back from a tough moment he had in the Bengals game, and he did. It was a huge touchdown and a huge reason why they won this game. So
absolutely. Showed you some flashes too. A guy that we really didn't get on last week, again, because we kind of gave him the rookie benefit of the doubt type of thing, but a guy you going into the season maybe expect a little more from. This was, I think, one of his more signature games. Again, like you said, had a couple of big catches down the field. Mac missed him on a couple of throws, so he could have had a couple more down the seam, I think, or down the sideline. But overall, good game from Tyquan Thornton when he needed him to. Because again, he chose not to use Kendrick Bourne for whatever reason until the fourth quarter. Nelson Aguilar is literally just there at this point. And you have Devontae Parker still dealing with a concussion, so you need someone to step up. Tyquan Thornton was that guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Consensus number one for the both of us, Jonathan Jones, 4 tackles, 1 pick, 2 pass breakups. Surprisingly, I did not think he did this well against Tyreek Hill, just from the naked eye, but was really good in this game against him. 1 for 4, 4 yards allowed, did have the pick, no touchdowns. And then just on that interception, did a good job keeping the feet down, staying in bounds, and kind of reading that pass. I think it was from Skylar Thompson at that point. It seemed like he kind of read the pass better than Tyreek Hill did as a whole. So a good game for Jonathan Jones all around.
Yeah, it was. He really stepped up again. Like you're talking with Duggar earlier, you're a little wounded or more than a little wounded in this
really
game
wounded.
In the secondary, and you have a guy like Jonathan Jones step up in a game where you're facing 2 elite receivers. And put on the performance he did, absolutely worthy of number 1 stud territory.
All right, on the dud side of things, the guys will complain about. I think for the second week in a row, I have the punter Matt Pilardi. He sucks. There's no sugarcoating it. He is so bad. And again, like nitpicking with special teams, but it's just glaring the amount of mistakes or the problems. 5 punts, 212 yards, 42.4 on average. Just 2 touchbacks and no punts within the 20. 45 yards for a touchback, 37 yards, 34 yards, 38 yards, and 58 yards for a touchback. The 38 yard, I went back and looked at it, was from the New England 13, was returned to the 41. So it gave Miami great field position. That drive led to the Mostert touchdown, which made it 14-7. It just bugs me because the Patriots have always prided themselves on special teams and stuff like that and not making mistakes. Obviously, you have Jake Bailey hurt, so you're kind of dealing with what you got, but Pilardi's been horrible. So gotta, shed some light on that, just how bad it's been.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where you can't really expect too much from a backup punter, and it hasn't been the best. Hasn't been totally terrible, but hasn't been the best from Pilardi. My number 3, who again, on the flip side here, you're number 2.
Yep.
Devin McCourty just continues to not look great for him. He just has most definitely lost a step.
I think so. I mean, that's an interception he should have had. 1 for 2 in the coverage stats, not terrible. 14 yards allowed, but only 2 tackles, and he played every defensive snap, 71 of them. Not a great showing from him. And like you said, he's lost a step. He looks old. Again, it pains me to say that. I'm sure it pains you as well because McCourty's been so great over the years, but these last couple of weeks have been glaring. Might be time to hang him up. I'm sure that's probably going to come into consideration at the end of the season. Same thing with Slater, but Slater hasn't looked bad or anything. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, just it stinks to see McCourty kind of go out like this. Would it surprise me if down the stretch if they get to the playoffs, he makes a big play? No, because he is a big game player. But these last couple of weeks, I think it definitely has shed some light on him aging a little bit here.
Yeah, 100%. My number 2 stud or dud.
Usually on the studs. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a combination of 2 guys I didn't expect to see in this category coming up for my last 2 duds. Josh Uche, just 1 tackle in this game. Really uncharacteristically quiet game for him, kind of a heat check on himself. He's been really good lately, but this one he just didn't really do a whole lot.
Stick with your 1-2. We'll just finish up with you because, like you said, both guys kind of go hand in hand. It's guys that have found the studs list for us plenty of times, but like you said, finds a dud list for you.
Yeah, next up is Matt Judon, a guy who's been and Defensive Player of the Year territory all year. Just one assisted tackle. So he took even a step
Not
down
great.
from Uche. It's
Yeah.
just kind of wild, but it's one of those things where like you have these duds here that are big name guys, but like you won the game. So you
Hmm.
can't really get too riled up about it, but
Hmm. And as we said
you
too,
know,
it's not the complete fall off like we saw from Judon last year. Like it's been this week, last week, and I think from remembering correctly, a couple people talk about this game. I think they're using Judon to drop back into coverage more. At least these last couple of weeks they have been. So maybe that's why the numbers have gone down, especially the sack numbers. But yeah, a little surprising for both guys because of how banged up Miami's offensive line was. Obviously, didn't have Armstead, so you thought maybe one of those two, if not both of them, were going to feast on a backup left tackle, but that never really was the case. So a little surprising, both of them struggle in this game, but like you said, you win the game, you're not going to complain too much about them.
yeah,
One
that's
guy
really
I
what it
will,
comes down to.
yeah, exactly. One guy I will complain about because it's been bad. I can't believe we found a tackle that was worse than Isaiah Wynn this season, but I think Trent Brown has solidified himself in that role. He allowed a sack and another false start penalty in this game. Some stats on Twitter. It was the 13th. The false start penalty was his 13th as a whole. It wasn't his 13th false start penalty. That would be really bad. That leads all NFL players in penalties, the 13 from Zach Cox. He said fifth false start of the season for Trent Brown. That number makes more sense. Third in the last 4 games. Like I said, who would have thought we have found a worse offensive lineman than Isaiah Wynn? Like Trent Brown at this point, at times doesn't look like he wants to be out there, which is pretty detrimental, seeing that he's your left tackle. You're supposed to be protecting Mac Jones's blind side. He does not do a good job of that lately.
No, he hasn't. It's just been such a weird year for him. Like ever since the whole like the cryptic tweets and
The
off game
Instagram
starts,
liking,
Instagram
you know,
just kind of proves to be a little bit of a diva, and then you don't see the performance on the field that kind of combines all together in just one big shit storm here, and
oh,
I
I
don't
think
really like it.
diva's a great word, especially pertaining to the outfit. I don't know if you saw that. A lot of people were giving him some flack on Twitter for like the pinata look that he came in dressed up as going to the game. Like the I don't know how to even describe it. Like the feathery pink and orange and blue, like multicolored. I don't even know what the hell he was wearing. Like if you haven't seen it, you have to look the picture up on Twitter because it was not a great look. And then transitioned into not great play from Trent Brown on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
He's definitely been like an enigma this season. It's been a very, like you said, perfectly summed it up, a very weird year for him because he started off good. Was I feel like one of the few offensive linemen that was playing well at the start of the year, and then has kind of done a 180 and just completely flipped the script this season and has not been great.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty much just ready to reconfigure the whole tackle position after
I
this
think you
season.
should. Absolutely. Yep.
Like
David Andrews stays, Cole Strange stays, other than Wenu stays, of course. Other than that, like you gotta change something up.
I don't think Isaiah Wynn is a Patriot next year. Trent Brown, I'm looking right now. If you get rid of him, has a 1.25 million dead cap hit. Like if he's gonna give you this unpredictability, I really don't think it's worth it.
No,
Like
not even close.
there's no real reason right now to feel like this is gonna change
Mm-hmm.
to me. So like you might as well just either get younger on the line and prioritize it at the tackle position with potentially multiple picks, but like move on from Trent Brown and get a guy that you feel like can more consistently contribute at least. Might not be a superstar pickup because you lose options like Jack Conklin and Elton Jenkins, who recently signed extensions. So those are a couple guys off the board you could have chosen from, but like I kind of feel like they need to just readjust this position.
I think so. I'm right there with you.
It's been a mess. Like Brown has been good at times, but overall not. Isaiah Wynn has been a wild card when he's in the game. I think you just got to kind of reconfigure things.
I'm right there with you. I think that's a good way to go about things. Again, it stinks that you knew going into as the season progressed, you were going to have to do something at right tackle for sure. But now the fact that you mentioned you got to do it at both kind of puts a damper on things. But I can see where you're coming from. Like I said, I agree that it might be a time for a change at both spots.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
All right. So moving, of course, to the biggest takeaways from this game, I have a thought on this. I don't know if you feel the same thought. This is something we usually ask after the Jets games. If this win taught you anything about this Patriots team or showed you anything. There were some improvements in this game. Mac Jones had some big throws throughout the day, did miss some throws as well. Tyquan Thornton, as you mentioned in your stud side of things, had a step-up game, was a factor, so that was good to see. You actually got some red zone touchdowns. You got a touchdown in the opening drive, which is good. That didn't come from Ramondre Stevenson. They were actually passing touchdowns, so that was cool. But there were also some flukes. The offense still struggled at times. 5 for 13 on third down, 4 3-and-outs throughout the game. It had a turnover on downs that I'll get into a little later in crunch time. 5 drives where they didn't get a first down. And then, as we've seen the last couple of weeks, you continue to reap the benefits of dumb mistakes from quarterbacks. Again, the pick six, say what you will about that. It is a great play, but it's kind of become a theme of late. You have to get a pick six to try to, propel your comeback. The Patriots only score 16 offensive points, which, of course, if there was no pick six, would have lost you this game. And then, obviously, people have once again brought up the list of quarterbacks the Patriots have beaten this season, being Mitch Trubisky, Jared Goff, Jacoby Brissett, Zach Wilson twice, Sam Ehlinger, Colt McCoy, and the combination of Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. I know Skylar Thompson had a touchdown at the end of the game, as I said, but he looked horrible in this game. He was trying to throw the game away. So for me, it kind of gives off the stench of, again, the Patriots can only beat mediocre quarterbacks and have to get these, not fluky. I don't want to use that word, but you know what I mean? Like, you need a pick six or scoop and score to kind of propel you towards a win. Of course, had to get an onside kick to win this game as well. So like I said, improvements in the offense, but where are you at with this team? Did this win give you any sort of confidence moving forward? Or are you kind of with me where it's like, I don't want to call it a fake win, but it's borderline that with what happened?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as last week.
Okay. For the people that didn't see the show,
Yeah,
what was your thoughts on last week? Or what was your take from that?
I'm still in the camp of, I don't think they're going to do anything in the playoffs if they make it.
I don't think so either. I'm right there with you. But
it's a very unremarkable team
mm-hmm.
on offense. They can very consistently get things done on defense. That's just not enough to beat a number one seed. Or,
no.
Well,
the two.
In this case, not quite a number one seed because they'd have the bye week. But I just don't think it's good enough to beat a team like the Bills, the Bengals, or Chiefs. I think it's just not.
No, I think you get smoked by. Maybe you keep it close against Cincinnati because you showed that you can, but you're getting blown out by Buffalo or Kansas City.
You need leaps and bounds more to become a legitimate threat in a spot like this. And maybe that happens. I don't see it.
No.
I just don't.
No, and I think, too, just kind of the last point that I had to get your thoughts on, you saw, again, in this game, as I mentioned earlier, some dumb coaching decisions and coaching, plays, stuff like that. You have Kendrick Bourne, as we talked about highly last week, comes off the 100-yard game, came off being, I think, the offensive player of the week, has a touchdown, a 29-yard rush that, he broke some tackles on, looked really well, played the third most snaps behind Jacoby Myers and Tyquan Thornton in that game against the Bengals, and then this week, doesn't see the field until the fourth quarter. I think his first play was that false start penalty. So, a lot of people got on him for that, but it's like, how can he get on the guy for that when, he's just coming into the game with 5:15 left in the third quarter is what it was. Has one catch on 2 targets for 16 yards, a 2-yard rush that came towards the end of the game, plays 28 snaps. That was only ahead of Nelson Aguilar, who played 27. So again, you're flip-flopping back and forth with Kendrick Bourne. It makes no sense. I get to some degree that maybe they want to see more of Tyquan Thornton and see what you have in this kid, but you saw in the Bengals game, those two guys can coexist. Thornton had the drop in that game, but you saw both guys, have some plays in the Cincinnati game. Now this week, it seemed like they wanted to more so focus on Thornton. I know I've asked this question 3 or 4 times already this season. We've kind of had the same answer because it's been a head scratcher, but any idea what Kendrick Bourne could have done wrong this week, or just what the game plan is there, not having him play in this one?
This is an offensive structure that believes somewhere in their diluted thought process. Like, this is a team that operates like they have a Justin Jefferson and they want to focus on that. And anyone else is just a cast off. And Kendrick Bourne is just that cast off. Where realistically, they have 3 guys that are in like kind of similar roles that they can spread the ball around to, and they don't understand that.
I mean, it's not the same. I get where you're coming from with the Jefferson comment, but if you were to look at the receivers on this team, like with the skill set they have, I know Jacoby Myers is a nice player, but I would consider Kendrick Bourne more explosive than Jacoby Myers. I don't know if you feel the same way or not. Like, I would look at Kendrick Bourne as their, and again, it's going to sound dumb to say because they're not even close to the same player, but Kendrick Bourne, I feel like it should be the one on this team with his skill set. Like, he should be their Justin Jefferson to a much lesser degree, but they, like you said, they want to try to make other guys that don't work. I know, again, I don't want to sound harsh with Jacoby Myers or guys like that, but
why are you so particular to certain guys when you have 3 guys in which there are none of them being a number one?
It's a good question. I have no idea. Like I said, I'd like to know if like Kendrick Bourne spit in Matt Patricia's cornflakes or something this week, or like didn't say hi to him.
When you have a guy that is struggling to hit the field all year for a variety of reasons, then he puts up 100-yard game, you have to bench him to the fourth quarter. You have to, We're making the defense think we're screwing with Miami. They game plan for Kendrick Bourne, and they're not going to see him for 3.5 quarters. This whole season's just been a big offensive prank. Like,
it literally has been. Like, it's been I wouldn't say that though, because pranks are usually pretty funny and like entertaining, and this has not been funny. I mean, it's been funny from a like make fun of standpoint, but it has not been entertaining in the slightest. The only time it is when Kendrick Bourne's on the field, but like maybe he'll be in the game plan for Buffalo this week. Like, I'm curious to see too, like if Marcus Jones could have went in this game, would you have seen Kendrick Bourne at all? Like, you needed some sort of speed out there without Marcus Jones playing, and you wait to use Kendrick Bourne in the dying minutes of the third quarter. It makes no sense. The other question I had for you, because it was a head scratcher for me, I wanted to get your thoughts on the decision to go for it on fourth down when you're in field goal range, up 23-14 with 2:34 left to go. Of course, Mac Jones takes a sack on the Miami 29. I saw the broadcast crew was talking about it, saying, it's not a terrible decision because a touchdown or a first down rather would have iced the game. Yeah, so would a field goal from Nick Folk. Like, it puts you up 2 scores at that point. Folk,
that's the start and the end of the discussion right there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like it was a crazy. Option. Yeah, it's not like it was a crazy field goal either.
It almost came back to hurt you.
Exactly. That's what I mean. You play that
Miami
soft
score
defense.
Late makes it 23-21, and someone gets the ball back, and then you're potentially screwed because all they need is 3 points.
Yeah. As soon as I scored that touchdown, I'm like, this is going to be the Miami miracle all over again.
Crazy.
Like, or something. We talked about it before. The Patriots find ways to lose games more than they win them of late. Like, God forbid Miami did get the ball back on that onside kick. Who knows what shit would have hit the fan?
You wonder oh yeah, it's like so easy to be an armchair coach in this scenario. Like, this time it is.
Yeah, it's like you have a kicker that can hit from only 46-yard field goal. Like, I know Folk missed a PAT in that game, but he hit from 49 earlier. So it's like, it's not like, I think from that the direction too that the Patriots are driving in. So it's not like it was a crazy ask for a guy that's been pretty nails all season to hit a field goal that would have iced the game.
It's fucking nuts. It really is.
But that's where we're at. Again, I'm glad you kind of share the same thought as I do, that there really wasn't anything to take away from this game because it's been more of the same boneheaded decisions and not putting guys on the field. Again, it was nice to see the touchdowns go through the air instead of, carried in by Ramondre Stevenson or Damian Harris, someone like that. Some minuscule improvement on the offense, but again, I think the glaring problems and the fact that, again, you needed a pick six to ice this game for you pretty much. I think that kind of says where you're at with this team. And like you said, not a lot to build on going into the Buffalo game, let alone going into the playoffs if we even get there. Because there is some work that needs to be done. You don't know how Buffalo is going to come out of this Cincinnati game. Obviously, media stuff today, so you really didn't get a feel of how anyone is doing right now. But for me, I think this is turning, at least for the Bills standpoint, you got to think it's turning into rally around Hamlin. We're going to go out and just decimate the rest of the league. I just don't see how you beat this team. Maybe
similar camp, yeah.
Okay, because the only thing I can think of is maybe they're not ready to play this game Sunday. They don't come out fully invested, and you kind of catch Buffalo. It's going to sound awful at a bad time. You get where I'm coming from there. The Patriots might be able to steal one, but on the flip, I think, like you said, it's going to be more so that Buffalo is just win for Hamlin, just go through the rest of the league, get into the playoffs, and make a run there. So I don't know how the Patriots win this game as we kind of transition into the Buffalo preview. Like I said, Buffalo obviously is dealing with, more so Hamlin than anything else, trying to prepare for this game. But I don't know. Do you see any way the Patriots pull this thing out, or what are your kind of thoughts on this game as a whole as you jump into the preview for it?
No, not really. We've talked about the layout of the team recently. I'm not going to get super in depth on that. But the thing I did notice looking at the stats here, I can't believe Josh Allen has fumbled 8 times this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's
nuts.
I feel like that's how you're going to
13
be able,
interceptions.
how you get them is you got to hope for a turnover, and he has not turned the
game.
yeah, he has not turned the ball over in the last 5 matchups against the Patriots. I think I have it in here somewhere. 15 touchdowns, 0 picks in the last 5 games. That includes that playoff game. So
yeah,
it's been tough getting them to turn the ball over, but that's kind of where you're at with Josh Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. The big storyline, unfortunately, given the circumstances, like how is their defense going to regroup without DeMar Hamlin? Because I mean, this is a guy tied for second on the team in tackles, 63 solo tackles this year, 6 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, a forced fumble. Like, this is a really good player they're losing. So how they adapt will be big in their efforts to neutralize the Patriots offense.
He was great in that. Looking back at some of the highlights in that game, he was great in the game in week 13 against the Patriots. I think he had a massive hit on Jacoby Myers that I don't want to say knocked him out of the game, but I think Myers may have ended up with a concussion after that. But just again, his presence was definitely felt in that week 13 matchup. So like you said, a guy that is going to be missed in this game. And again, it all centers around how Buffalo kind of moves forward. Again, tough to say with how things have kind of turned out of late.
Yeah, but I'm in the camp of seeing this as a rallying point for the Bills. I really don't see a situation where they lose this game, not only because they're the better team, because of the rallying point thing. And the storyline with DeMar Hamlin, like, they've got the whole community, the whole sports world, and after them, they saw the Sabres last night wearing the DeMar Hamlin shirts to the game. It's really become this sudden rally cry for them because this just horrible situation. And it was funny. I saw the Sabres tweet out last night. Tage Thompson scored a hat trick last night. DeMar Hamlin wears number 3. On January 3rd, 3rd hat trick of the season, 30th goal of the season, and the winner was scored 3 minutes into overtime.
Jesus, it's a little freaky.
Talking one of those freaky moments. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't see a scenario where the Patriots win this game. I think the Bills are in every position possible to win it. And it just kind of ended in an unfortunate way to miss the playoffs for the Patriots.
Well, there is hope if they lose. The Patriots.
There is hope.
They do need some help. The Dolphins have to. But we can run through that really quick just to see the possibilities, because it's not the craziest stretch that they need. Starting with the Dolphins need to lose to the Jets. The Dolphins are starting Skylar Thompson. So that is, of course, after watching him this season, a pretty big possibility. The Jets could help the Patriots there. The Titans have to lose to the Jaguars. I think that's going to happen because the Jaguars are as hot as they come right now. And the Titans, I think, are starting Joshua Dobbs again. Didn't look terrible in his game, but the Titans are on the flip side of the Jaguars. The Jaguars are ascending. The Titans are falling apart. And the Steelers need to lose to the Browns. That one might be tough. You kind of hope Cleveland can come out and maybe shock the world there. That would obviously be an upset. But I don't know your thoughts on, because you and I both think, spoiler alert, the Patriots are going to lose this game. How likely are these 3 things happening, and can the Patriots squeak in, or which one of these teams do you think is going to spoil the Patriots' postseason chances?
I don't know. Like, I could really see all 3 of these things happen. Like,
I was just going to say, you could see it happening Browns either way. Winning. Yeah.
Oh, USA just scored.
Oh, there you go.
Rucker McGroarty early in the 3rd. 38 seconds in. Wow. I really do think the Jets, the Jaguars, and the Browns are all going to win.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at.
It would be Steelers to lose to the Browns last week of the season, some sort of gut punch crushing way to kind of end their season. But I mean, Kenny Pickett's been playing really well of late, so it very well could go the other way. It's 3 games that could, I feel like, really go either way. There's maybe other than the Jaguars and Titans game, clear cut favorite to win. Dolphins obviously need it, so they're going to be playing. Actually, no, they're eliminated, right? So the Dolphins aren't playing for anything. Or are they? I don't know what the Dolphins kind of playoff structure looks like.
Dolphins are eliminated, yeah.
Okay, that Pittsburgh win, that's right, I think knocked them out. Yeah, who knows? I mean, the Patriots, again, you have to hope they can somehow muster up a win. It's just really quick, some keys for me. If they can figure out a way to do so, you, for me, have to get back to the 2 running back attack. You've seen Ramondre Stevenson lose it of late. Again, I think you and I are in agreement from last show that the workload, I think, has killed him. You need Damian Harris to step up. Obviously, he was not able to go in week 13 when these two teams squared off. You had Stevenson rush for 10 attempts, 54 yards, 6 receptions, 24 yards. So you need something from Damian Harris or Pierre Strong, one of those two guys. You need Jonathan Jones to have a repeat of the Tyreek Hill matchup. Stephon Diggs, he owned Jonathan Jones in week 13, 7 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Jones, like I said, we went through the stats in that game against Tyreek Hill with the 1 catch on 4 targets. So you need something out of him. I said it when you brought up Josh Allen and the fumbles. You need Josh Allen to have a pick or 2 in this game or a fumble or something. So you said that Matt Judon needs to step up. He was held in check in that week 13 matchup, 3 tackles, 1 quarterback hit. And then from the offensive standpoint, you need something out of, one of your big 3 guys, if you can even call them that. Jacoby Myers in that first matchup, 3 catches, 22 yards, Hunter Henry, 2 catches, 13 yards, and Kendrick Bourne, who again was not used in that game, 1 catch on 2 targets for 15 yards. Someone has to pop if you want to stay in this game. But like you and I said, it just, with what has unfolded, you don't see how the Patriots are going to be able to, like you said, stave off Buffalo and who are playing for Damar Hamlin, his family, and everything going on with what has happened.
Fucking no goal again.
Would they rule it off for this time or call it off for that time?
I don't even know, man. I missed it, the original goal, but they called it off again. USC down 4-2. Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as my keys to the game. I read yours earlier, and I just couldn't really think of much to add.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on board with you there.
Okay.
But unfortunately, all those things, if they were to happen, I don't think would be enough to win this game. I have the Bills winning 30-20.
All right. I have Bills 20.
Score to yours.
Yeah, I have 27-17. I mean, you saw the Patriots in that first matchup keep it close. Like, I think there is going to be a little bit of, the Bills struggling to start this game. So maybe it's not going to be a complete blowout. The Patriots are going to be able to keep it close. But again, in the end, you said it, from a talent standpoint and just, winning for Damar Hamlin, the Bills are going to come out of this game on top. Again, there is still some discussion. If I've seen some little rumblings, if the game may even get played. I know Mike Reese on Zolak and Bertrand talked about that the other day. He said he wouldn't be surprised if this game got called off. So there is still that aspect to keep an eye on. And like we said, if the Patriots are to lose this game, which you and I think is going to be the case, they're going to need some help. They're not mathematically dead. As you said, all 3 of these things, Dolphins lose to the Jets, Titans lose to the Jags, Steelers lose to the Browns, could very well happen. So maybe the Patriots are able to squeak in to the playoffs, even with a loss, and we have one more Pats game to watch. Now, whether we are excited for that or not, because like you said, you really want to see the Patriots go in and get blown out by whoever ends up being the 2 seed. I don't know.
I don't want to see it at this point.
All right, fair enough.
It's not going to end well. I hate to be the negative Nancy, but
no, I think that's the reason, not the reason, the way a lot of people should be looking at it. But there are going to be some people that are like, oh, it's just more playoff football, get excited for that. I don't know if I want to see, especially if the Bills end up being in the 2 seed. Now you get to have a rematch of the playoff game from a year ago. Do you want to go through that again? Buffalo will have had some time to figure some things out, get settled, and maybe be more so back into their game plan for the first round of the playoffs. I don't know if I want to see that.
I don't either. It sucks, but that's just where I've been at for a while here.
Mm-hmm.
But do we want to run into our recap of the past week?
Sure, let's do it. NFL Week 17.
Yep. Cowboys and Titans. I got to be honest, I just couldn't be bothered to watch a game with Josh Dobbs.
Fair enough. He didn't look horrible. 20 for 39, 232 yards, a touchdown, a pick, a 67.5 rating. Wasn't bad. Wasn't good. I think the big thing from this game, I wanted to ask you about it because we've had a discussion on Dak Prescott before. He was a mixed bag again in this game, 282 yards passing, but 2 pretty bad interceptions, did take a sack as well. He's now tied for the league lead, or at this point was tied for the league lead in interceptions with 14. Despite missing 5 games this year, that's kind of wild. You've been on this before. You're kind of waiting for the Cowboys to turn into the Cowboys and lose a game the way they like to lose games. Is Dak Prescott going to be the guy that undoes the Cowboys? Because their defense, again, looks... You don't think so?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, I think, his play has raised some questions of late. It hasn't been great. There's a rhyme there for you. But the supporting cast is too good. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I like Dak Prescott as a player, but he has been making some boneheaded decisions of late. So I'm kind of on the fence about, is he going to be the reason this team loses, but definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott is the best bad quarterback in the league to me.
I can't think of anybody else that might take that, because no, my mind just goes to bad quarterbacks. So I think it's a fair argument you bring up.
Yeah, that's where I'm at on Dak. That's
No,
where
you know
I'm
what?
at
No,
on him most of the season.
I think you can make a case for Russell Wilson for that.
No, but like Russell Wilson's just bad at this point.
Okay, just you're not gonna. Do you throw Deshaun Watson into that category then too?
I can't, because he's only played like 4 games.
Okay. All right, so then I think Dak Prescott takes the cake.
Is wildly unimpressive to me.
All right.
For a guy that should be better than he is. Oh my God, I thought USA just scored. I probably would have got called off though.
I was gonna say
Cardinals Falcons. I just like
Gross
anyone who watched this game is a masochist. I didn't watch it. I don't care about it.
Nope. This was just check the box score game. See if there's something to talk about. David Blau got his first start as a Cardinal. Wasn't terrible. 24 for 40.
Wow. Makes you think of Carl Weezer's mom and Jimmy Neutron. Blau.
Yeah.
When they're doing the yoga.
Yeah.
The deep cut Jimmy Neutron reference.
Yeah. But I mean, he wasn't horrible in this game. Trey McBride was the latest, who are you, Cardinal, to step up with a good game, 7 for 78 and a touchdown. And Young Hook, who, played hero with 2 big field goals late.
Whoa, Logan Coolidge didn't even look passing on the power play. Nice.
That wasn't good.
Oh, I want them to come back. Give me an OT game. Anybody who watched this game is fucking crazy.
It's insane. Yep.
Bears and Lions. The Lions just beat the shit out of the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Fields is now out for the rest of the year, which is just 1 week at this point.
I know. I like how they worded that. It's like he's done for the year. It's like,
God, how do they not score? What's going on in this game?
Just say he's out for week 18. Like, everyone kind of gets the idea that he's out for the rest of the season. You don't have to specify that.
I mean, at this point, if you're a Bears fan, you just don't care at
No.
week 18 because you want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no gain from winning. So, I mean, Nathan Peterman, let's just have some fun watching him stink it up.
Throw interceptions left and right. Yeah.
Justin Fields did still look like Justin Fields on the ground, but they got their shit pushed, and Detroit completely shut them down offensively.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just, Justin Fields struggling through the air. Detroit's defense came to play as well.
Yeah, their best game of the season. 7 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, 5 tackles for a loss, and 1 pick from Aiden Hutchinson, who I thought I saw on the broadcast say that was like his 3rd interception on the season. So maybe I might have been wrong. I'll have to go back and look that up, but he's put together a solid rookie season. And then the ground attack for the Lions, Jamal Williams, 22 carries for 144 yards and a touchdown. Swift had a touchdown on the ground and in the air. So good to see him kind of step up and put together a pretty solid season in the year that's been up and down for him. And then Jared Goff continues to look like a decent quarterback. 3 touchdowns, 155 yards, 133.5 rating. Like, we've talked about this before, the Lions, Jared Goff, not the flashiest name, but has put together a pretty solid season for them.
Yeah. He's whether he's here for the next year or 2 or not, he's been a pretty good, at the very least, stopgap, a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
If they are to draft a QB in the next year or 2. Jaguars 31, Texans 3. We got the Texans falling back down to earth.
That's for sure.
Etienne, Hasty, and Connor combined for 3 touchdowns in the backfield. They dominated. Trevor Lawrence didn't really have to do much, and they just cruised to this victory.
Yep, that's all I had from this. Texans being the Texans and getting blown out, and the Jags, like I said, continue to be one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in football right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Chiefs, close call with the Broncos. Chiefs have had a few close games lately.
Mm-hmm.
Might be concerning if you're a Chiefs fan.
Put it on a scale. How concerned are you if you're a Chiefs fan moving forward?
Like a 2.
Okay.
They're
so not concerned. Okay, not concerned in the slightest.
Yeah, it was a pedestrian day on the ground, but they did get in the end zone 3 times. That's really all that matters when it comes down to it on a day like this, between Pacheco and McKinnon. And it was another game. They saw 4 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and 8 quarterback hits. That ended up being a huge difference maker against the Broncos in this one.
Mhm.
The Broncos made it pretty close, only falling to them by 3.
Yeah, I think if, like you said, if there's any concern for the Chiefs, I think the offset of that is something that has been, I feel like, to a lot of people, their weakness over the years. Their defense has only gotten better as the season's gone on, as you mentioned the stats for what they did in this game. The 4 sacks, obviously huge as well. So Kansas City, continues to be a pretty balanced team. If one week the offense isn't completely destroying somebody, the defense steps up. So I'm with you. No concerns. Late in the season, Chiefs may have pulled the Celtics and overlooked the Broncos here and just said, we'll just roll through this game, roll into the playoffs as we usually do.
Mm-hmm. Right. Giants 38, Colts 10. Pretty similar score to the Lions and Bears game. Nick Foles is just depressing to watch at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Ehlinger will start the final week of the season. Daniel Jones, he doesn't blow you away with like yardage or anything typically, but like he's just getting it done this year.
Pretty efficient, yeah.
I kind of wonder if he gets like a Derek Carr type of deal where he gets like 3 by 100 versus like 5 by like 200.
Yeah.
Because he's good, but he's not like gonna get the Kyler or Deshaun Watson or like potential Lamar Jackson money that he's gonna get.
Yeah,
or Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I think a similar contract to Derek Carr, maybe a little more, is like a perfect deal for Daniel Jones and the Giants because Daniel Jones is pretty good, but he's got to know a little bit the like part of why he's doing so good is this new scheme, and I think there could be a mutual agreement between them. Like, let's see if this works out on a shorter term, and then go from there. And it still gives Jones like a very sizable payday. I think that's the best of both worlds for the Giants. They also want to extend Barkley. I would tread lightly there because those running backs, but maybe
you've also seen him
3-4 years
fall off a little bit this season too. Production has not been there from where it was at the start of the year. So who knows?
Definitely got to be more careful with that one.
The other thing, really quick,
but they stomped the Colts.
Yeah, the other thing too, I wanted to get your thoughts on because there was a little bit that came after this game. Obviously, during the game, if you saw it, Nick Foles got sacked. I believe hurt his ribs. And the big thing from this game was the Kayvon Thibodeau celebrating with the snow angel, and then after the game, Jeff Saturday basically calling out his team, saying like he would have liked to have seen some linemen, take some. I don't paraphrasing, but like get some payback. I guess is kind of what he was getting at, and basically said, what Thibodeau did was shameful. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that. I don't list this late in the season. I don't know if especially with what Jeff Saturday has done, with his status for next year being up in the air, if you want to be calling out, your players. I don't know how well that's going to sit this late in the year. Does have I feel like a little bit of a case though. Thibodeau maybe in the situation, not the best look, but I don't know if he knew that Nick Foles was hurt in that play. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the whole play itself or just the comments afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know how he didn't see.
It's right next to him.
But
yeah.
Apparently he didn't. So I don't really have a whole lot of a problem with it.
Okay.
The Jeff Saturday stuff was kind of just weird.
That's Jeff Saturday in a nutshell. Like that's what you get. I feel like when you have a media personality coaching your football team, that's something okay to say when you're in the studio and be like, oh, this is what should have happened. But now that you're the head coach, you can't really come out and say that you wish your lineman got some payback or again, however you worded it. Like
trying to be like Dan Campbell or something.
Yeah, just a lesser, not as inspiring version. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
way less cool Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The Saints beat the Eagles 20-10, which is 7-9. Eagles, a little bit of tough sledding in this one. Proves how much they missed Jalen Hurts. Gardner Minshew did not play great. Brown and Smith did in the receiving core, and Marshall Lattimore just recently coming back. Seals this one with the pick 6.
The Gardner Minshew's play, I asked you this question last week. We really didn't have an answer because we didn't have a huge sample size, but now 2 games in, Gardner Minshew 0-2, the Eagles 0-2 with him. Actually, no, the Eagles are 0-2, excuse me. Is he helping Jalen Hurts' case for MVP? I know last week when we had this discussion, he is okay, because I remember we discussed that the only thing that could hurt Jalen Hurts' case, as you mentioned, was not playing the full season. I'm right there with you. I think this absolutely helps his case because you're seeing now the Eagles have not been able to win a couple of games when Hurts has not been out there.
Yeah, it just has to strengthen this case. It's a tough game for the Eagles now puts the 1 seed in doubt a little bit.
Mhm.
But we'll see what happens because it looks like Jalen Hurts might come back in week 18. At this point, if you're an Eagles fan, you have to hope that.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it's really like this debate kind of depends on what side of the coin you're on. Like, it could be like Jalen Hurts is good enough as is. This has nothing to do with the MVP case, or it has everything to do with it. You kind of got to pick a side.
Mhm.
And I'm like on the everything it has to do with it because this team is very noticeably different without him. So
Absolutely.
this just reinforces my pick for Jalen Hurts at this point to win MVP because it's a much different team without him. Simple as
Absolutely.
that.
Stats back it up.
Most definitely. Panthers and Bucks. Bucks went 30-24 in a huge game. 20-point fourth quarter effort. Tom Brady, 4 total touchdowns, 35 of 45, 34, 45 to the air, 432 yards. We saw prime Tom Brady. He connected with Godwin and Evans for 19 of 21 targets between the two and 3 touchdowns, all to Evans, 327 yards to the air.
Mhm.
That is the Tom Brady we have been waiting to see.
Absolutely. And it's a shame that you could say the same thing about this is the Mike Evans we've been waiting to see. I, from a fantasy football championship standpoint, was hoping that he put up the same number of production he had the previous weeks because he put me in the grave very early in the championship round with 3 touchdowns, 207 yards. So in that game, Mike Evans, of course, became my least favorite player in the NFL because he, like I said, he ruined my championship hopes. They are now gone because of his 3 touchdown performance. But nice to see, like you said, Tom Brady bounce back and not lose the division to the Panthers. That would have not sat well with me. Obviously, Brady goes in potentially as an 8-9 or a 9-8 team. Not the greatest look, but he is back in the playoffs for what is it, like the 19th time or 19th time division winner or something like that. Something crazy. So
Yeah,
good for TB12. Yep.
Yep. I mean, he dominated. Next up, we have Browns and Commanders, 24-10 Browns. I agree with you as you have listened to the line here. Carson Wentz's NFL career should be over.
Yep.
If anything, he should be a spot backup at this point, spot starter, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who had any hope of the 2017 Wentz returning, it's not happening.
I don't know why you would have thought that to begin with.
He purely sucks. Ron Rivera should be fired.
This was going to be my moment of the week.
Had like one of the most like inspiring stories of the past few years, but like he really hasn't done a great job with this team this year.
No.
And you have to wonder if he's under the microscope. I have to imagine he is to some extent. This is a weird game and one that leaves Commanders fans very puzzled, and rightfully so.
You have to wonder if, because again, the biggest thing storyline, obviously, other than Carson Wentz absolutely stinking in this game, was what came afterwards. Like I said, I was going to have Ron Rivera being a moron as my moment of the week. If anybody didn't see it during his post-game presser after the Browns lost, he was asked, quote, "You said you would talk about the quarterback next week. If you guys are eliminated today by what happens at 4 p.m., is Sam Howell in consideration?" Ron Rivera responded with the question, we could be eliminated. And the reporter that asked the question responded with, "Yeah, if the Packers beat the Vikings and you guys are eliminated." Of course, that happened. So the Commanders are now out of the playoffs. I wonder if Ron Rivera wasn't a moron and knew that if they lost, they could be eliminated. If Carson Wentz's start was even on the table, like I feel like if he knew going in, you probably would have just continued with Heineke, because I don't know how you could have given any, hope that Carson Wentz, like you said, was going to deliver some sort of playoff berth or just staying alive, because he is just not a good quarterback.
Yeah, this is a pretty drastic oversight, it seems, from
Absolutely.
Rivera. Like, Canada just scored. It's 5-2. I think it's pretty much over.
I think that, yeah, it's a nail in the coffin.
Yeah, USA just didn't have enough to stack up this year, kind of what I expected. Tough, but yeah, I mean, the evidence is evidence, or the receipts are really stacking up for Ron Rivera lately. I don't know how he's the coach of this team next year.
I don't know how you can come back from this. Like, part of your job is to know what's going on just across the league and put your team in the best position. Obviously didn't do that starting Wentz. And again, like not knowing that you are going to get bounced with a loss, like that's inexcusable to me.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty unfamiliar as well.
Yep.
Who would have known Brock Purdy and Jarrett Stidham would give us one of the best games of the year? The 49ers topped the Raiders 37-34 in OT, effectively eliminating the Raiders from playoff contention. But Jarrett Stidham, for the most part, played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Adams was fantastic. Josh Jacobs was solid. Darren Waller was good, which is nice to see for
Yep.
me as a Darren Waller dynasty fantasy owner.
There you go.
Because it's been a rough year, last 2 years, especially for him with injuries and stuff. But this game was fucking nuts.
Sorry, there's like a moving truck or something going on outside. It's a flashing light just completely throwing me off here. Yeah, Jarrett Stidham, a guy that sat behind Cam Newton a couple of years back. People forget that. Like you said, played great in this game. Again, maybe it's some people will argue that it's just a 1-game sample size. How realistic is it? I think the fact that he did this against the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL absolutely says something. Like he came out from what I saw the highlights of, like didn't no fear, wasn't making a ton of mistakes. Obviously had the 2 interceptions. But like you said, throughout the game looked really, really good. Looked comfortable, looked like he knew what he was doing. I think part of that goes to obviously Josh McDaniels being there and calling a good game for him. But I don't know, maybe the Raiders have something with Stidham if he comes out and plays like this or plays anywhere close to this against the Chiefs this week, then maybe he's a guy you ride with for a year, see what you got in him. Patriots, again, they should have done that back in, 2019 when they had Newton that year? Like, kid looks like he can play. So I think, again, I know a lot of people have discussed this over the last couple of days. Again, just the complete mismanagement from Bill Belichick in that sense that, like, this guy couldn't have won up to Cam Newton that year and started over a couple games over him just to see what you had, because clearly he has some ability. So a little frustrating to see that, but obviously good for him to, get a chance and play really, really well against a really good team.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just comes down to the situation as well.
True.
I don't think that was going to happen here. The Geno Smith revenge game. Next up, 23-6 Seahawks. As you have noted here, it doesn't matter who's a QB for the Jets. They are eliminated from the playoffs. Kenneth Walker further builds on his case for Offensive Rookie of the Year with a nearly 6 yards per carry average game.
Pretty good.
Another game. Defense, is a huge storyline, and the Seahawks defense stepped up big time.
Absolutely. 2 picks, 4 sacks, 6 tackles for a loss, 9 quarterback hits, a forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. The Jets are gonna Jets. You said it like I have in the outline. Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Mike White, Chris Stridler, whatever his name is. Who cares? Doesn't matter. They all stink, and the Jets, once again, will not be making the playoffs, even after their great start this year.
Yeah.
You hate to see it.
It was so predictable. Anybody who sees otherwise is, just got their blinders on for some reason. Next up, the Packers beat the ever-living shit out of the Vikings.
Vikings are frauds. That is fully 100%
to 17. Jair Alexander finally gets his opportunity to shut down Justin Jefferson, something that is very hard to do. He rebounded after, the first time they saw each other this year. I don't want to say the Packers are a threat, but like they're kind of.
If they can put games
lately,
like this together, we're like, again, when you think of the Packers, you more so think of like Aaron Rodgers leads the team. Their offense is going to go. The Packers are going to go. This game, it was the complete opposite. Like Aaron Rodgers, I don't have it in the outline, but his stat line, was pretty pedestrian. Like I think he barely threw for 200 yards, maybe had 1 touchdown, if that. There was at one point when the Packers took a 14-7 lead. I think the Packers had 14 total yards of offense, and we're up 14-7 or 14-3, whatever the score was at that point. The defense, 3 picks, 1 pick six, obviously from Darnell Savage for 75 yards. That was a great return from him watching that live. 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery, both for Kenny Clark. They had 105 yard special teams, kickoff return for a touchdown, and then the ground game. Aaron Jones goes for 111 yards. AJ Dillon goes for 41 and a touchdown, a dynamic duo there. Like you said, Jair Alexander shuts down Justin Jefferson, 1 catch on 5 targets for 15 yards, had the pass breakup, which if you look at it, maybe could have been pass interference the way he was kind of hand grabbing him. But the storyline from that was he grittied over him, which, was kind of funny to see. Someone gave it back at Justin Jefferson. And then I have it here too, just watching the game. I know people make the jokes, but they might be onto something here. Post 1 o'clock, Kirk Cousins is a sight to behold. He is horrible if the game is not on at 1 o'clock, minus that
really
that Colts game, of course, but that's the
Yeah.
one outlier.
And like you said with Rodgers, I'm just taking a look. This is the second lowest passing attempts he has thrown in a game all year. 15 to 24, 159 for 1 touchdown, was sacked once, 1 carry for 2 yards on the ground, and they won by 24.
He basically had to do nothing in that game, and they still won
he was
it
just
pretty
chilling.
comfortably.
Like, I don't know, man, because it's like, it's hard to get a read because the Packers are usually pretty good and then they fuck it up in the playoffs.
They're going the opposite way.
A scrappy Packers team might be the opposite.
Here's the thing, though, is we've talked about this plenty of times before, where I've said it multiple times that Aaron Rodgers is the anti-Tom Brady when it comes to crunch time and playoff time. Yeah, the Packers are making a little bit of a run here, but can you really trust them in the playoffs? Like,
No,
maybe you're onto
but-
something with they're going the opposite way. There's going in scrappy this year instead of as a
No,
powerhouse.
I absolutely can't fully buy in on that, but it's definitely worth pondering.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think, like you said, it's definitely interesting. Raises some eyebrows, and maybe going in a different way. Maybe is the year that works out. That would be something. They go in at like 8-9 or 9-8, and this is the year the Packers make a run finally. Like, that'd be something.
Yeah, that would be classic. They've been a little bit weird lately.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers 31, Rams 10. Rams season continues to be tragic.
Yep.
They just get blown up by the Chargers here by 3 touchdowns. Austin Eckler shows why he's arguably the best all-around back in the league again.
Tried his hardest to help me in fantasy. He tried his darndest. So
12.2 yards per carry, heavily inflated by that 72-yard touchdown.
Yep.
Cam Akers played pretty good on the other side, but Austin Eckler and the main cast of characters in the passing game were enough to get the job done for the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, I think you're starting to finally see what a maybe fully healthy Chargers team. Something we expected to see or had hoped to see earlier in the season. Obviously, before the season, that's why I made them my Super Bowl pick, at least to go in the AFC. You're starting to see it. Mike Williams, it seems like he's fully healthy. He had arguably the catch of the year in this game, 7 for 94. And Keenan Allen is back to being Keenan Allen, 60 yards on 5 catches. And you mentioned it, Austin Eckler is an absolute dual threat. I think the only guy that maybe can make a case being a better all-around running back is Christian McCaffrey, but I would hang my hat on Austin Eckler just because what he can do and, as flashy as he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. The Rams just continue the worst title defense ever.
Absolutely.
So brutal to watch, a completely unenjoyable team. Even with Matthew Stafford healthy, ever since he hasn't been, they've just been an unwatchable football team.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, I think I literally said this on last show. I might have mentioned this, Steelers and Ravens, or I might have just mentioned it talking to friends. This game had 17-13 or 14-13 written all over it, and it was a 16-13 final.
I'm trying to remember if you mentioned that to me.
That's where that's where I go to with Steelers, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Ravens, Browns at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I expect from every game with these combination of teams. And that's what it was. 16-13, gross game.
Mm-hmm.
The main culprit showed up, with not Devin Duvernay. Rashad Bateman out for the year. You need guys like Andrews and Dobbins to step up more. They did. No Lamar back, but gross game that the Ravens pulled out, or not, Steelers pulled out.
Does this game say anything about either one of these two teams to you? Because the Steelers have had a couple.
They
nothing.
Both suck.
All right, fair enough. I was going to say this. The Steelers look like they're kind of building towards something. They've had a couple of nice comeback wins here back to back. Najee Harris stepped up on this game. Kenny Pickett, has proven the last couple of weeks that he can lead a game winning or, a game tying drive, stuff like that. The Ravens, I think it just shows that they're basically frauds without Lamar Jackson. I know Huntley's a nice little player here, but they're just, if he has to start a playoff game, you hope Lamar Jackson comes back healthy because they're just not going to get it done. It's
2.2. I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to come back in and win them a playoff game either.
That's true. Yeah. He really hasn't proven that either. So the Ravens are, maybe the least threatening team in the AFC playoffs right now. I know if the Patriots squeak in, you can maybe argue they are, but the Ravens, I don't want to say fraudulent 10-win team because again, a lot of those wins came with Lamar, but like
I would take the Patriots
nothing is
over the
clicking.
Ravens in a playoff game.
I might honestly too. Yeah. I mean, nothing is clicking for Baltimore right now. I know I talked about Tennessee being on a decline, but the Ravens are in a, for lack of a better term, with the, think a poor joke, they're in like a tailspin here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I don't know. And the Steelers maybe trying to make some noise late too, like I said, but again, I'm not all that worried about the Steelers. The defense has played well of late, but that's kind of their calling card anyway. Kenny Pickett in the playoff game. Can you trust him with no sample size? Like, who knows moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a gross game. Two teams
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't be threats to anybody, and I think that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on the Bills and Bengals game earlier. Not really much more to add. I think we covered everything. Before the game was suspended and eventually postponed indefinitely now. But
I'm looking one last time to see if anything news related on just Damar Hamlin, but nothing that I can see scrolling through Twitter really quickly.
Yeah, it looks like that is going to wrap it up. Hopefully we get some more positive news on Damar Hamlin. But we'll see. It's a very delicate situation right now, but we're hoping for the best. Thank you so much for listening. First episode of the new year, episode 125. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. You can find us on Twitter as well. Me at Mike_Cratty, Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. Find us on TikTok as well for whenever we decide to post. It just happens whenever we feel like it. You can rate and review us on Spotify and Apple. You can find us on Twitch and YouTube under the Full Press Coverage umbrella. And we're looking forward to a successful 2023 after a very successful 2022, first year on the Full Press platform. And let's shoot for the moon. We will talk to you next week, or maybe not. I might have a work commitment, so just a heads up to anyone listening now. We might have to take next week off if we can't reschedule. But if we aren't live next week, look forward to the week after that because we should be back. But if you follow us on Twitter, we will keep you posted on all that stuff. So see you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. And we will talk to you then. Peace out.